feel like I might have been a train conductor in a past life. I'm obsessed with my calendar and timing. All right, guys. So the first of the four fundamental models that we are going to hit today is the economic model, right? So we're probably going to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes on this one, and then probably 30 to 40 on the lead generation model, and then the balance of our time on a budget and organizational models. So get your pens and papers ready as we're going to dive in here. A really important foundation. So I said there were four models of the millionaire real estate agent, and they're all built on this foundational model, right? And it's all about sequencing our business and understanding what we have to focus on first, second, and third. So the first thing that is the most important is leads, right? You cannot do business that you don't have a lead for. Right? And you need a lot of leads to do a little bit of business. So you need a whole lot of leads to do a lot of business. And leads, you want to lead generate for listings. Listings are, as we said, they really fit that 80-20 principle. You make more money in less time as a real estate agent when you have listings. You want to lead generate for listings. And then finally, listings operate as leverage because you list the house and other people sell it, or when you have enough listings, your business becomes more predictable. When your business is predictable, you can make hires, you can make investments, you can do things that are leverage for your business, but we're always thinking leads, listings, leverage. Do I have enough leads? Do I have enough listing? Where can I leverage? All right, here's the economic model in a nutshell. The more you treat real estate like a business, the more it will feel like your calling, your passion, your dream job. Right? The more you treat it like a business, and listen, I'm not trying to fire shots at anybody. But as I said, there's a lot of people, and I talk to them all the time. Why'd you get into real estate? Well, I've always just liked, houses. Oh, I saw, all the TV shows. I love HGTV. And I'm not saying those are bad things. Most of my childhood was spent watching HGTV and my mom remodeling the bathroom every 6 months. Right? Like that's just the way it worked in our household. But you loving this is good. You should love what you do. But the more you treat it like a business, the more you're going to love it. The more you treat real estate like a business, the more it'll feel like your dream job. So here's the deal. There are three different buckets that we need to consider: performance, investment, and outcomes. We are going to make investments in our business. The Small Business Administration says that there are two things that every small business needs to succeed. One is necessary capital to launch, and number two is a detailed written business plan. I'm here to tell you, and I know that I've got people on the call who will agree with me, that you do not need capital to start a real estate business. You need a couple $1,000s to get licensed and join a board. But beyond that, you do not have to spend money to make money. When we get into the budget model, the number one underpinning of our budget model is you lead with revenue. If you're looking for business, there are for sale by owners and expired listings. Those are two groups of people who have raised their hand and said, I want to sell my house and I haven't been able to do it. You're a trained real estate professional. You can help them. Doesn't cost you any money. But the investments that you will make are time. There's the investment of the cost of your sales, right? If you generate referrals from another agent, you have to pay them a referral fee. There are some operating expenses as you get into this, right? You want to give a closing gift. You want to spend on marketing. You want to do those sort of things. Eventually, you will end up with operating expenses. That's an investment. We're going to talk about how to manage those. And then I always hammer training and coaching as an important investment, because that training and coaching as an investment will drive your performance. Now, these are the things that as a new real estate agent or as somebody looking to break through the next level, we need to focus on our behavior. This is what time we're waking up, whether or not we're coming into the office, how and when and who we're dialing, right? The things that you do. Then there's your skill level. So training and coaching can help increase your skill level. The words you use, the scripts you run, the listing presentation you present, your ability. Some of us have natural ability. We're very comfortable talking in front of a room for 3 to 6 hours, right? Other people maybe not, but maybe you have to, or at least present one-on-one. Your resources, right? Which are your leads, your appointments, your talent, your systems, your tools, all of those things dictate your performance. And your performance is going to, plus your investment, is going to dictate your outcomes. Your outcomes, which are your gross commission income and your net income, right? So from an economic model standpoint, we go back to that real quick for anyone who's taking notes. There's a few things that we have to understand here. What is this model? What are the areas we focus on? And then how do we build it? So whenever a real estate transaction takes place, gross commission income is generated, right? And it's very important, and this is the exercise of the economic model. That's not how much money you make, right? You are not here trying to do top line revenue for your business. That's what gross commission or gross closed income is. We're here to think about net income. So we want to account for all of the operating expenses and the cost of sales that we're going to encounter. I talk to agents all the time. I met with one yesterday morning and I asked her what her goals were. And she said, I want to do $10 million in real estate. And I said, why? And she's like, well, I did 7 this year and 10 seems like a big number. I said, I don't care if it's 10 or 100 million. How much money do you want to make? And more importantly, what does that money allow you to do? It's critical, hypercritical, that we know that selling $1 million in real estate generates about $30,000 of gross commission income, but does not mean that we put $30,000 in our bank account. So we're going to work through that. So here are the key variables of the economic model, GCI net income, right? Like I said, it is gross commission income is how much income is generated off the sale of real estate. And then net income is how much you take home. And I got to be really, really clear here. That's before Uncle Sam gets his share. I am not an accountant. I've never pretended to be one. However, you will have to pay taxes on your net income. And so you need to factor that in. All right. So the investment areas, our cost of sales, right? So as I believe we're all Keller Williams agents on here. I believe maybe a few of us are on teams. So there's a few things that we need to understand. For you as a Keller Williams agent, I recommend that you put 0 in for your cost of sales because your cap will go into operating expenses. If you're setting a goal below hitting your cap, then we should talk about that because it is a very achievable thing in this market with this company. And we may need to just stretch the way that we think a little bit. But you are likely not going to have any costs of sales or at least planned costs of sales. And for a team agent, your cost of sales will be your split with your rainmaker. So that's the amount of money, when your gross commission check income comes in and it gets split between you and your rainmaker, your cost of sales is going to be their portion. For rainmakers, it's the opposite. It's how much you're paying your agent to sell. And then finally, if there is anybody on the call, I don't think so, that is a non-KW agent, this is your split with your broker. Right? It's how much you're paying your brokerage. For expenses, now I want everybody to, think big here and be detailed, but what are your business expenses, not your personal expenses? So this could be things like rent. Do you rent an office? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you do, rent's an expense. Do you pay somebody a salary? Do you have any supplies or equipment, right? Signs, business cards, closing gifts, marketing materials, food for open houses, food for brokers opens, gas in your car payment. If you're buying leads, that's an expense, right? Marketing and advertising, including purchasing leads. Coaching and training is an investment. Don't forget about that. That's an investment. So right now, I want you to go through and start just scribbling down what are all your known expenses. If you keep a P&L or you had a budget last year, you already know it. But when it comes to, hey, my client just closed on a $200,000 house, are you spending $100 on a charcuterie basket or a nice bottle of wine for them to celebrate? That's an expense, right? How many homes are you going to sell? That expense is going to go up, right? You look back and say, I've spent, $3,000 at the BP today or this year. So I got to have $3,000 in gas expenses. My car note's $400 a month. That's $4,800 a year. You need to write all those down right now. And you start scribbling. And these are only business expenses, right? Do you pay for software for your CRM? Probably not, because you have Keller Williams, but you do have a $67 a month fee for your insurance and your technology with our company. That's $804 a year. A that down. Everybody has to belong to a board of realtors. That's about $600 a year. Everybody is in the MLS. That's about $440 a year, right? Get all those expenses down and get to one big number, or hopefully not too big, but get to a number, right? And if you don't know, I think between, and again, remember your cap is going to be included in this as well. So that's $21,000. And I think for most, individual agents, their expenses are going to be somewhere between, their business expenses are going to be somewhere between, $25,000 and $35,000, depending on how they spend their money, right? Some people will bake, 5 dozen cookies, and that's a closing gift, right? That's relatively inexpensive. It's very heartfelt and homey, and that keeps expenses down. Like however you want to manage your business, but $21,000 for a cap, $1,000 for board and MLS dues, a few $1,000 for gas, a few $1,000 for a car payment, a few $1,000 for marketing materials, and all of a sudden you see where we have to factor in, hey, these are my business expenses. So hey, everybody should put down $800 to participate in Bold in January, right? Put down $1,000 to go to family reunion. Put down another $1,000 to invest in some other training throughout the year. All right, you see, it gets to 25 to 35K pretty easily. And don't worry, like don't be scared. You're like, oh my God, I don't have $30,000 in the bank. You don't pay it all up front, right? It's just you got to understand your expenses, because what we're going to drive to is net income, not GCI, right? GCI minus expenses equals net income. So if we don't know what our expenses are, we're going to undershoot our GCI. We're not going to do the business that we need to do to fund the life that we want to have. Before we get into that example, know that all of this is driving towards focusing on 2 key areas. Our behavioral outcomes. So these are investments, these are behaviors. Our behaviors are driving us towards appointments, getting an appointment, and focusing on conversion rates. So real quick, I'm gonna stop. Actually, I'll wait for that. All right, so focus on appointments. You got to think about how many appointments you had last year. I know we got some new people, so just, be along for the ride, but how many appointments did your business, that's you or your team, have last year? Actually, you know what? I am going to do this right now. So I'm going to stop this share. I'm going to pin myself, spotlight myself for everyone. And I'm going to go to the whiteboard here, because when we talk about appointments, right, sometimes it can be, people are like, well, what's an appointment? Like I went out and had beers with my buddies. Is that 3 appointments? Here's the deal. The first thing that we're going to talk about is dialing the phone, right? You gotta call people up and you got to dial. And then you get somebody on the phone and you talk to them about real estate. And you ask to meet in person. Getting face to face is one of the key qualifiers for an appointment. So what is an appointment? Getting face to face is number one. You use contacts to get the appointments. You use the appointments to get a signed contract or signed paperwork, I'm going to say. Signed paperwork. So that's a listing agreement or a buyer broker agreement. Once you have signed paperwork, your goal is to get that listing or get that buyer under contract and then get that contract closed, right? Does everybody see the progression from dialing the phone to closing business? Let's say signed agreement. Okay. You dial the phone, you get the appointment. Now, for this to be an appointment, right, you have to ask for the business. And when you ask for the business, you are using your unique value proposition. What makes you special? Why work with me? To get over the wall of value. Hey, I feel like I'm the best person to sell your house. Would you like me to sell your house? If so, I want you to sign this listing agreement. If we're not asking the question, we're not asking someone to choose us, then you don't have an appointment. You just had a good conversation, right? So these two qualifiers to make an appointment, face to face, and then obviously you get signed agreements, you get stuff under contract, and you get business closed. Now the neat thing is, as the second part of this, the second part of this is to focus on our conversion rates, and we're going to focus on a few of them. But know that there's a percentage of the times that you dial that somebody picks up, a percentage of the times that somebody picks up that you get an appointment. There's a percentage of the number of times you ask for business that they sign a contract, you go under contract, and the percentage of the time that under contracts go to closed, right? So 100 contacts, right, probably gets you one piece of closed business is what it historically for your massive averages. So let's go back to this slide, and oops, I gotta reshare my screen here. That would help. So now that we know what an appointment is, how many do you have? How many signed agreements did you get? And how many people did you close, right? Those are the numbers that you really want to focus on. I go a little bit more in detail because I'm a nerd. But here's the big buckets of conversion, right? And these are the big averages from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Guys, just so you know, these models were data driven. Gary Keller interviewed hundreds of the top real estate agents from around the world and figured out what their business looked like. And what their conversion rates were, right? So your conversion rate from having an appointment, right? So you generate leads, then you have your first conversion, which is out of how many leads did I get to an appointment, right? And this could be buyers and sellers, or you could just lump it all together depending on what you know about your business. So, and then from there, how many appointments did I go on, and how many listings did I get? Right, that's the key one, or how many buyers signed with me, because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to say yes to you, and it hurts. But National Association of Realtor averages say that about 70% of people interview one real estate agent, right? So if they intend to buy or sell, and you can get to them first, you have about a 70% chance. If you compete, that number might go up or down. If you have a really strong sphere, that number might go up or down. If you don't know your numbers, use these. And then, again, how many listings did you take to how many sold, or how many buyers did you work with, how many they sold? Now, this is going to vary massively in our current market because about every listing that's priced even remotely right is selling. And then every buyer is going to have a really hard time, as I think we've all found out. And it's getting easier for them. Let's be honest. There's more homes on the market. There's interest rates are still low. Like there's some good things happening for buyers. It's, maybe it's, 85% of my listings sell, 90% of my listings sell, but only 60% of my buyers. If you're looking for a number to build a model, build your business model off of, 70 is a good one. But understand that not every lead you generate is going to trickle down to business and to gross commission income. That's the first thing. Like, you might say, like, oh yeah, I have 5 people that I'm working with, right? Well, 5 buyers doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get 5 closings. It could, that's awesome. But there's probably a higher likelihood that maybe 3 of those buyers are going to end up buying. The other ones are maybe going to have a credit issue, maybe not going to be able to find the home that they like, whatever it is, and they fall back into the lead pool. Just be aware. The number one takeaway here is every lead is not going to go to close business. Any questions about that, or about this, performance, investments, outcomes? Any ahas about anything? I know that, we start talking about conversion rates and all that. The most important thing is understanding what an appointment is, because that's what we're going to work to next. What is an appointment? And then, how many leads do I need to get to the number of appointments that I need to do the business that I need to do? Any questions about any of that before we move on? We haven't even really started the math portion yet. All right, gang, here we go. So before we get into this, I need everybody to understand that when we're talking net income, right? So we spent a little bit of time just a few minutes ago getting the our total operating expenses nailed down, right? But what I want you to do is think about how much money you need your business to generate to fund your life next year, right? Now, this is part of the exercise in the pre-work, right? How much must I make? Should I make? Would I make? So, think about, you got a mortgage or rent, you got food and entertainment. You like to order Chipotle? Do you like to go out to eat? What are the things that you like to do that you want to be able to do, and you want your real estate business to provide for you? What are the things that you've got? Taxes and insurance, you got to pay those. Property taxes, insurance, car insurance. You got some travel. You want to take a vacation, you want to take 2 vacations, how much does that cost? You want to give to your favorite charity, how much does that cost? You want to get some new furniture, right? Maybe you're saving for a down payment on a house. This is going to be different for everybody, but I want you to start writing down everything that you would need. You have pets, right? You have pet insurance, you got pet food, you got doggy daycare, you got kids. I hear those are expensive. Your kids go to private school, your kids need school clothes, kids need Christmas presents, kids need lunch money. I mean, it all adds up, guys. $5 a day for lunch money is $3,000 a year. That's a real number. So start writing down everything that you need or want. Start with needs and then move to wants. You got some debt you want to pay down? Student loan debt, credit card debt, still making a car payment. You don't want to make that car payment anymore. Want to buy an investment property. What's all that look like? Got any elderly parents, sick relatives that you take care of? Maybe you got a brother or sister with $10,000 credit card debt you want to wipe out for them. Throw that in there. It's crazy. You think the sale of the average home would generate $5,000 in this market, right? You're sitting on $10,000 credit card debt. That's a couple homes. Put it in there. That's going to be your net income. Now I'm going to walk through an example, right? Of well, as you get to your totals, what do you want to net next year? How much money do you want to make to fund your life? If you're comfortable, put it in the chat box. Just drop it in the chat box. Remember, out there, it's live rounds and full mags. In here, safe space, padded walls. Nobody's going to get hurt. All right, got some good numbers coming through here. 250, 150, 120. What most real estate agents say, well, before I get into that, I need you to know. There you go, Isaac. See, this is what I'm looking for. $91,648. I need you to know where every nickel of $120,000 or $80,000 is going to go. Because here's the thing, this ties back into what we talked about around big whys. Around big whys and around our next year goal and our someday goal, right? If it was, Latanya, if it was 75K instead of 80K, is that still pretty good? Be happy with that? Need more money than you ever made? Get you everything that you want? And 80 is just a round number? Really inspect where that money is going to go, because the work that gets you there is going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Ollie West, $100,000. And that is by and large what, if I'm meeting with, literally hundreds of real estate agents a year, and I talk to them about their goals. What do you want to make next year? Most people say, and this is going to be an example for a solo agent, they want to make 100 grand. They want to make $100,000, right? So this is a KW agent that wants to make $100,000. They are an aggressive spender, right? So I'm high siding this, as I like to say, which is they drive a car that costs them $500 a month. They pay their cap. They spend on marketing. They pay a transaction coordinator to do their deals. So their expenses are higher. They're on the high side to run this business that throws off $150,000 or $100,000 in net income. As we said, they have no cost of sales because we roll their cap up into their operating expenses, right? So that means that to net $100,000 before taxes, I have to stress that it's before taxes, that they have to generate a total GCI of $150,000. Now you see right there that where most people will trip themselves up is that to make $100,000, they are going to get $100,000 in GCI and then not actually have $100,000 to show for it, right? So this is a really important step in understanding where every nickel from a net income standpoint is going to make sure that you have the right net income number. And then secondly, to understand your operating expenses that it costs to run your business so you get the GCI number right. So you got to get that number right. So then we have our average commission rate. Average commission rate in our office is around $5,000. Average sales price is around $200. mix in buy sides and sell sides, you're looking at about $5,000 in commission. Okay. Now, if you know that you work primarily with investors, your commission rate, average commission is going to be lower. You might do 3 or 4 deals all at once, but you're going to have a lower commission rate on each deal. If you sell luxury, your commission rate is going to be higher. This is where measuring our results and measuring our outcomes is important, because if your average commission amount, average sales price, average commission amount is higher or lower than this, it's going to impact the next thing, which is how many homes do you have to sell? It's 30 homes to make 100,000 to net $130,000 or $100,000. Sorry, to net $100,000, you need to sell 30 homes. Sorry, I'm going to turn off whatever's making that noise. So now this is where we get into those conversion rates, guys. Is if I need to sell 30 units, I need to sell 30 clients. Not every lead is going to turn into a sold client. And not actually, first thing, not every client that I get is going to actually close. How many people, just by a show of hands or a yes in the chat box, have had a deal fall apart in the last 12 months? Yep. Right. It might have fallen apart right before you got to clear to close. It might not have appraised. They might have been just under contract and then got cold feet. Financing could have fell through, right? But not everyone closes. And let's say we use the 70%. Well, if you divide 30 by 0.7, you get 42 and change, which rolls up to 43. So you need 43 clients to sell 30 houses. You need 43 people to sign a listing agreement or a buyer broker agreement. 43 people to sign to sell 30. Remember, we're focused on appointments, right? Getting in front of people saying, choose me to help you buy or sell. So not everybody that we ask to work with us face-to-face is going to work with us. So we have another conversion rate here. So 30 clients sold means 43 clients, but 43 clients, we need 62 appointments. Is if 70% of our appointments turn into clients and 70% of our clients turn into closings, 62 appointments gets us 30 deals. Understanding that math is really powerful. So what does that exactly mean? That's, oh my God, 62 appointments, Mike, how would I ever? Geez, I mean, oh boy. Guys, it's 5 to 6 appointments a month. That's 1 or 2 a week. If you are coming in or from home, right? Latanya's going to do it from 5 to 7, calling people, telling them that you're in real estate, telling them that you can help them sell their house, buy a home, whatever it is, getting an appointment, 1 or 2 a week. You can make $100,000 next year. This is where now we're moving from the yearly goal, right, on the Everest chart, the yearly goal to the monthly goal to the weekly goal to the daily goal. One a week. Now I'm gonna work through this live with somebody on their goal, but I also want to show the example for a team agent, because I know we have a couple team agents on here, right? So they want to net $100,000. right? And look, I know that all sorts of teams have all sorts of different arrangements. I'm going to operate with a 50-50 split. Your rainmaker is, providing leads and support and some training, and they're going to take 50% of your commission for that. So the other great thing is that if you're on a team, you have a lower cap, right? Your cap is somewhere between $5,000 and $9,000 if you're on a team. The other thing is that most rainmakers are paying for other expenses. They have a transaction coordinator. They are paying for marketing. They might pay your board dues or your MLS dues. So your expenses are considerably less, should be considerably less as a part of a team, depending on the arrangement you have with your rainmaker. And like I said, we've got 35 teams in our market center, which means we have 35 different ways that people arrange their teams and agreements that they launch into. That's perfectly fine. Your cost of sales. Now, if you're on a team, you take your net income and your cost of or your operating expenses, and you add those together. And if you're on a 50-50 split, it's going to be equal to those two, right? If you're on some other split, connect with me offline and we'll do it as an example. But that means that your GCI has to be 250,000 because 125,000 is going to your rainmaker, 25,000 expenses. Your goal is to net $100,000. And guys, we have probably 15 to 20 agents on teams who are netting over $100,000 a year. So, it's more than doable. Average commission is the same. It's about $5,000, which means instead of selling 30 units, you have to sell 50. So if we work that same equation, 50 clients sold means 72 appointments needed, clients needed, which means 102 appointments, which means 8 to 9 a month and 2 or 3 a week. Now, keep in mind that if you're on a team, you could be getting fed leads, or you could be trained in different lead generation tactics. You could be getting different resources. You probably aren't doing any of your paperwork or your contract to close, right? All of those things that come with it are allowing you to do more business, right? Because there are 5 things that you need to be doing as a real estate agent: lead generating, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and getting educated. Those 5 things are the money-making activities for you as a real estate agent. When you're on a team, anything outside of those 5 things, and even sometimes some of those 5 things, are taken care of for you, which allows you to do more. It's an 80-20, it's a Pareto opportunity, right? But the difference between a team agent and a solo agent making $100,000 is about 40 appointments a year, which is, an extra appointment most weeks. So just keep that in mind. That cost to sales piece is important to consider, because again, we are focused on our net incomes, not focused on our GCI. GCI is just a path to help us understand the number of units that we have to sell, guys. And you will be keenly aware to notice that we're not talking about volume, right? There's a lot of glitz and glamour in this industry where people are focused on, oh, I sold 5 million, or I sold 10 million, or I sold 20 million, or 100 million, or whatever it is. We're in this business to make money to fund our perfect lives, whether that means we are selling, however many homes we have to sell, because keep in mind, guys, we don't control what the homes sell for. We control whether or not they sell. So when we focus on units, we don't fall victim to the volume, right? Because if you are lead generating towards a volume goal instead of a unit goal, it'll never make sense. So keep your eye on the prize: units to GCI to net income. Does that make sense? All right, so who would like to volunteer? I always love to get one person up on the big board, on the whiteboard. We're going to work backwards on this. I'm gonna work this equation right now on my whiteboard. So who would like to be my volunteer this morning? Rebecca Holstein. All right, Rebecca. Let's get you unmuted and get you get your camera up. And we are going to use blue to do this. So we have net income, operating expenses, cost of goods sold or cost of sales. That's going to lead to our GCI, which then we're going to have an average commission, get us to units. Units will get us to clients. And we'll have a conversion. Clients will get us to appointments. Or, sorry, clients will get us to signed agreements. There's conversion to appointments. And then that is going to give us our monthly and our weekly appointment goal. How much money do you want to make next year, Rebecca?
I want to make 125,000 net after expenses.
125,000 American dollars, right? That's all not Canadian.
Yeah,
okay,
not
cool.
Canadian.
Just want to make sure. You never know. Never know where you might be planning on a run off to the Great White North. What are you projecting as your operating expenses?
So that part's like harder because a lot of the things, because I'm on a team, so like signs and business cards, and I have like a monthly marketing budget from the team. I do buy closing gifts for clients. I mean, my commission or my cap, I guess you said, was under operating expenses.
Yep. So your cap is what? $6,000?
5,000. It's 5 or 6.
Five.
I don't know, but I hit it. I think it's 5.
Yeah, $5,000 for your cap. And then you said closing gifts are in there as well.
Yeah.
What do you typically spend on closing gifts?
Somewhere around $100.
Okay.
Give or take.
So,
yeah.
We'll say that, for a number like that, you're probably going to close, 40 units. So there's $4,000. You got a car payment. You got to put gas in your car. Don't forget those things.
Yeah, I don't have a car payment, but I do use gas.
All right. So let's say you got $4,000 in closing gifts, $3,000 in gas, $5,000 in your cap. That's $12,000.
Okay.
Now, what is your split with your Rainmaker?
It just changed. It's 60-40 now.
Okay. So 60% goes to you, 40% goes to your Rainmaker.
Yeah.
So when it's a variable split like that, it gets a little bit more complicated, right? So we're going to add those two numbers together, and then we are going to, oops. So you're going to, that's 137,000, right?
I'm not sure. What were you adding? You were adding.
I'm adding these two numbers together. Your operating,
Okay.
your net income and your operating expense to
Oh,
get.
yeah. Sorry.
Yes,
I thought
that's
you were
127,000, and that's or 137,000. So then we're going to divide that by 0.6,
Okay.
which is your portion. And that's 228,000. Now, guys, this is the when you get off of 50/50, you need to do this. That is 228,000 is what you need in GCI for 60% of that to cover those expenses and give that net income. So then we take 228,000 and we subtract out the 137,000. So your cost of goods sold are $91,000. Okay. So your GCI goal is 228,000. 91,000 comes out as cost of goods sold. 12,000 comes out as operating expenses, $125,000 shows up in your bank account.
Okay. Oh, I did forget the, I think under operating expenses was the, like, association dues and MLS dues and all that, like another
All right, so
$1,000.
we'll add another $2,000 there. So this is good because you guys will get to see this change, right? So now we're at $14,000. And look, it is incredibly important that you go through the exercise of understanding 100% of your expenses, because if you get this wrong, none of this other stuff is going to get you where you want to go. So now we're at 139,000 divided by 0.6 gets us to 232,000. Right? Which means that we have $95,000 in cost of goods sold. So if we're really dialed in here and we know that $125,000 is what's going to fund our perfect life, and we miss a couple $1,000s in operating expenses, well, then we're going to miss by almost $5,000, which is going to show up as probably a whole unit,
Right.
which means that we don't miss here, we miss here and we end up missing here. So then that last $5,000 that was going to pay for you and your hubby to go on an all expenses paid trip to Cinque Terre, Italy next year, all of a sudden you don't get to take that trip. That's why knowing where every single nickel in your net income is going is hyper critical to making it real. And when that gets real and we get real and get right about our expenses, we can get the right GCI goal. All right, now, what's your average commission?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because all my commissions so far were before I capped, like I just capped.
No, see that. Well, now here's another common mistake.
Yeah.
What is your average commission before any of that stuff?
Oh, gotcha.
Because look,
Okay.
look, Rebecca, you've
Yeah,
accounted for those things here.
Mhm. So I guess 5,000 before all the splits.
Okay, well, again, and it's really important that we know this number. Like, this is the market center average, but you sell in Avon and Lakewood and place those fancy, yuppie places on the west side, man. Like you're racking and stacking $300,000 listings. This might be bigger, or I don't know. You hit a couple investment properties as well. It might be lower.
Right. Well, I had like a $275,000 listing, but also a $30,000 condo listing. So kind of, and everything in between.
That's why averages are averages.
Yeah.
All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take 232,000 and divide it by 5,000. So who can do that for me?
$46.4.
46.4. Polly Lorenzo, you have been in real estate a while. Have you ever sold 0.4 houses? No, you haven't. So 46.4 becomes 47 units. So 47 units means 47 clients. Do you know your conversion rates, Rebecca?
For listing appointments or just for everything?
Anybody that you sign an agreement with.
Well, so far it's 100%, but all of my listing appointments have been like personal referrals from people who know me, not necessarily people in my sphere, but people in my sphere referred me to someone.
So 100% of every buyer you worked with, every seller you worked with, anybody who's even walked past you has bought or sold with you.
Well, no.
Okay. So, of all the people that you've talked to about real estate and choosing you as their broker, how many, I should say, out of everyone that's chosen you, every buyer you've shown, every listing you've taken, how many have actually closed?
Well, I have 4 under contract right now, but so far everything else is closed. I mean, I had one go back on market twice, but we're under contract the 3rd time.
Okay, so I would say that's being under contract's one thing.
Yeah.
right? It's like, can't think of a good analogy off the top of my head, but I'm going to say that given where your leads are coming from and who your people are, you're probably an 80% conversion rate on somebody signing up for you to be their buyer agent, or somebody signing up for you to be their listing agent, and that actually generating income for you.
Okay. Yeah, that seems fair.
Because here's the thing, it's important that you take into account everybody that said like, oh yeah, I'm looking to buy, and you showed them one house or you put them up on a portal and nothing happened. Because if you say like, oh, everybody I've worked with is closed, then you're going to put 100% in there. And the first time that somebody's listing doesn't sell and they tell you to go pound sand because they don't think you did a good enough job, your business plan's off. Your model's entirely off, right? Now you can do better than this number, and that's great because that just means you make more money.
Yeah.
But if you do worse than this number, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's definitely a drastic difference between
Now, somebody
online leads and, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So 47 divided by 0.8. Can somebody do that for me?
59.
59 even?
It was 58.75.
Okay, so 59. Now, of all the people that you've had an appointment with, has anyone not chosen you?
Not anyone that I've had an appointment with, but there's like hundreds of people I've like, given a business card to, or, just had conversation with.
Well, remember our qualification for appointments, right? You got to ask for the business. Giving a business card is not a buyer consultation. It's not a listing appointment, right? Because you're not asking the business, you're asking them to think of you.
Right.
So look, this is, and I know you're in your first year in the business. I know we got a lot of people on the call are in their first year in their business. And I think it's important to understand that, early on, you're working with friends and family and people close to you, and you're not competing for business. So your conversions are going to feel a lot higher. As you work to make more money, you have to stretch yourself and talk to people who don't already know you, like you, or trust you, right? And then you're standing on the merit of your business and not the merit of your pre-existing relationships. So divide 59 by 0.8 again. $73.75. 74 appointments are what you need to go on next year. 74 times you need to sit down across from somebody and say, I want to be your realtor.
Right.
Realtor, however you want to say it, you got to ask them to work with you. Now, you're taking that week-long vacation in Cinque Terre with your hubby, and you're going to take one other week off vacation. So you got 50 weeks you're going to work next year. So take 74. And guys, you should all be doing this, playing along at home with your numbers. 74 appointments divided by 50 is what?
1.48.
Okay, so we divided by 12 first. Sorry, divide 74 by 12.
Oh, sorry. 6.2.
So you're going on 1 to 2 appointments a week, 6 to 7 appointments a month to do that. Now this changes pretty drastically, right? Because we saw the guy making $100,000 was going on more appointments to do this, to do less business. Well, it's because these conversion rates are higher for you. So when you adjust those down, you'll put yourself into where you have to do more appointments. This is where tracking your business and understanding, like, yes, this was an appointment, yes, this was not an appointment, is going to help you make sure, because in 3 months, 90 days into 2022, you need to revisit this. Yeah. And you need to ask yourself, how many appointments did I go on? How many people signed up with me? And how many things are under contract or closed? Right? Because you might find that your conversion rate might be 65% here. And it might be 90% here. that's going to dramatically impact what you need to do on a weekly basis, right? But if we're not dialed in on what we need to do on a weekly basis, we're not going to do it. We're going to get really busy. And we're going to be shuffling paperwork and, oh my gosh, do I like this new business card? And, oh, I forgot to post on Facebook and We're going to do everything under the sun except lead generate, lead follow up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, or get educated. Because those are the only 5 things that are going to have an impact on your net income next year. So I would do this process every 90 days to make sure I've got these numbers. My conversion rates are accurate. Because if you go on 1 to 2 appointments a week and these are wrong, you're going to finish the year, not make all the money that you said you needed to make. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right,
Like
guys.
that would drastically change the numbers if the percentage was like 60% versus 80%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So once, for you guys who downloaded the packet, you're going to get a total number of units, right? Sorry, when you have your total number of units, go to page, what page?
18.
Page 18, you can work this out in your packet, and you have 3 different models in your packet. They're all the same thing, but you put different net income goals in there, and you see that, to make 75,000 instead of 50,000, you only need to go on 10 more appointments. So, guys, I got to tell you, I worked in corporate America for the better part of a decade, and at no point in my real estate, at no point in my corporate America career did anybody ever sit me down and ask me how much money I wanted to make next year. And at no point could I, just by working a little bit harder, make 50% more money. Right? That's an amazing thing. What's that?
I was just going to say that's exactly what like motivates me, is having, I'm on a team, and obviously Eddie wants me to be successful, which makes him more successful, but like, he's not trying to limit like whatever I want to do, whatever I want to make, versus like he just gave me a 10% raise, like, hey, you're doing a great job, I'm upping your commission increase. Whereas at my full-time job, I have done like above and beyond and asked for a raise and get nothing.
Right. Guys, being an entrepreneur means you control your outcomes. It's incredibly powerful. So here's the other thing. When we put a goal out there of selling 47 units in a year, we have to know when and where they're coming from. So on page 20 in your packet, there is a closed and pending calendar, right? Where you're going to drop 47 units. And then I want you to go through the exercise either for closed or pending, whichever you feel more comfortable tracking your business on, and then multiply your total units by that percentage, right? So for Rebecca, right, if she wants to close 47 units next year, then 7.5% of those are going to come in January. So to close 47 units in 2022, she needs to close 3 or 4 in January, right? And she's going to need to close 5 in June. She's going to need to close 5 in July, and 5 in August, and 5 in May, and 5 in September, right? And the goal, and these averages, guys, are for our market. The number of homes that close on the percentage of homes closed for the total market every month throughout the year. So it's really important that you be dialed in, because if you think like, oh, I'm going to sell 47 units and I'm going to close 12 things in July, you're probably not, right? And if you get to the end of January, Rebecca, and you've only closed 1 unit, you're behind. Knowing, remember what we said, someday, 5 year, 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, and today goals, or daily and then today goals, right now goals, right? Well, this is a way for you to know your monthly goals. When you get to the end of January, you will know, am I on pace to hit 47 units? Am I on pace for $125,000 in net income next year? So use this as a way to, remember what we said, we're focused on accountability. Make sure that we're focused on it. We hold ourselves accountable on a monthly basis. All right. I need a couple ahas here before we move on to the next segment, and we're through the heavy lift on math and income and thinking real heavy and hardy about what we're what we want to do with our lives. And now we're going to get really tactical and practical, okay? But I need a couple ahas from the economic model.
My aha is the conversion rate, that it changes. I mean, I like to use the 0.7 just because normally I'm I'm higher than that. So I make my conversion rate lower to make myself work harder. But then during this last year, we had, issues with appraisals that were just crazy with losing clients. And I think that really plummeted my conversion rate, and I did not take that into consideration. So that was an aha for me.
That's huge. And I think that if we're unable to get our conversion rates right, we're not going to be doing enough activities. I think the other thing to remember there is, as you aim to grow your business, it means you're going to be dealing with more people who you don't have prior relationships with. You're going to be dealing with more people who you're competing for their business, and your conversion rates will go down as your business goes up. And that's where having systems in place for lead generation, lead follow-up, conversion are so critical. All right, one more aha, then we're moving on.
Mike, I was going to focus on, in the economic model, it seems as though the key number to really focus on getting as accurate as possible, is the operating expenses. And that involves looking at both our daily living expenses and also our business expenses, and making sure we identify the two to get a good number in there. Know exactly what we're looking for is the expenses to make the economic model work.
Yeah, it's critical for both net income and operating expenses. Operating expenses, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're spending $10,000 more on your business than you expected, and then you end up with less net income. The net income accuracy is really important because, picking $100,000 is a nice round number, or 75K, or whatever your number is. Like, what are the things that you're like, if Rebecca's number is 125,000, I want to know where the last $25,000 is going. And I want to know why it's so damn important that you make that instead of 100,000. Because at the end of the day, right, you can make $100,000 and work a lot less, but you're not going to have the life you want. You're not going to be fulfilling your big why. But if you don't understand where that money's going, or you don't understand how it makes you free, if you're not buying an investment property with the last 25,000, if you're not taking the vacation, if you're not paying down debt, if you don't know where that money is going, you'll never even make it. It's a really good aha. Really good aha, Paul. It looks like we got one in the chat. Knowing your numbers. Amen. Amen. Know your numbers. Know your numbers.